The following is a non-profit fan-created review. All footage, music, and images are properties of their respective owners and are subject to fair use under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. We claim no ownership of anything save the original material. Thank you for your understanding.
Greetings and salutations, dear viewers! Welcome to another scum-sucking episode of the NTV! Welcome back, folks. Here we go with part 2 of Auntie's comedy reviews, and boy have I got a gutbuster for you this time. In my infinite wisdom, I have decided to present anime that take different approaches to humor in an effort to diversify my audience's meager cultural portfolio. Today we're going for the straight-up parody series, and what better genre is there to lampoon than fantasy? Yes, indeed, from the far-flung realms of Eberron to the war-torn continents of Azeroth, high fantasy holds a special place in modern fiction, and that includes Japanese animation. But as with every popular concept, satires will arise from people who either hate what it is they're lampooning, or downright adore it. And so, submitted to your approval, I present to you a parody anime simply known as Those Who Hunt Elves. Those Who Hunt Elves is a fantasy adventure comedy series written by Yu Yagami and published in the monthly shonen magazine Dengeki Comic Gao. The series began on March 1994 and ended in January 2003 for a total of 21 volumes. Of more interest to us, though, is one of 2 animated series that began on October 4th, 1996 and ended on December 19th of that same year. The production was handled by Studio TAC, whose other notable works include Alice Academy, Captain Tsubasa, and the Street Fighter series. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A martial artist, an actress, and a gun-crazy high school student, plus a military tank, are pulled into a fantasy world filled with magic, monsters, and elves. In order to get home, they must constitute the fragments of a great spell which have embedded themselves on the skin of 5 elves. Unfortunately, they have no idea of knowing which elves have been branded, and thus must travel the land, stripping every elf they find naked. I think that says it all, so without further ado...
Could ever be Angel.
The first of the main characters is Junpei Ryuzoji, the karate master and muscle of the group. Junpei is the one most eager to perform the stripping of the team's unfortunate victims, denoting a classic perverted streak common to the main characters in the 90s. His rough way of doing things and enthusiasm with the mission often gets him and his companions in trouble, but his iron fists are often enough to deal with anything that comes their way. As a character, Junpei carries most of the physical comedy since he is the tough guy, and he's quite likable despite his boorish manner and manifest dislike for fantasy. A final note, Junpei is obsessed with curry, to the point of weeping like a baby when it is denied him. You might even say he's addicted to curry. Thank you, thank you, thank you! And next we have Ritsuko Inoue, the resident high school student and gun otaku of the group, as well as the pilot of their iron steed. Ritsuko is 16 years old and packing more heat than John Rambo. She must have been raised in the United States. Ritsuko is the one with the closest connection to their T-74 Nanayon main battle tank, which she has affectionately named Mike, and is possessed by the spirit of a dead cat. What the hell have I been smoking? Her manner is tomboyish, but not to the point of being butch. For instance, our little Richon still likes cute things and has an iron-hard belief in Santa Claus, and she's not the only one. Shut up! We'll see who's laughing when I'll be playing a PS3 on Christmas Day and you'll be choking on your coal! All jokes aside, I very much like Ritsuko. She's at once the most innocent and the most insane of the group, because let's face it, anyone who gives their tank a name can't be all there. I take it back. Please don't hurt me! Straight from the United States and winner for the Academy Award for Best Actress is Eiri Komamiya. At 24 years old and with an IQ of 450, she is the definitive brains of the outfit. With her dazzling good looks, flawless acting ability, and capacity to correctly assess any situation, Eiri is very much the reason any of these idiots are still in business, and I consider her to be the unofficial leader of the bunch. Something people will notice right away is that Junpei is hopelessly smitten with her, being his favorite actress, and just like any celebrity, Eiri thinks nothing of this and even uses his feelings to her advantage, though never in a mean spirit. Eiri Ciri is definitely a strong character with no obvious flaws who, despite lamenting her fate, still faces it with the grace and dignity worthy of the greatest actress in. And finally, accompanying our three misfits is Mistress Celsia Marie Claire, supreme ruler of the Elven people and a legendary mage of great power.
No, I'm not trying to trap you, you ingrate! I'm trying to come back and help you get back to your world!
Just leave this to me, Celsia.
I keep telling you my name is Elizabeth, you idiot!
Amazing mastery, Mr.
Extremely
Celsia.
well done, Mr.
Hey,
Celsia.
Celsia, that didn't suck.
Can't you idiots keep the story straight?
God damn it! Why doesn't this thing ever show what I want it to show? Let's see here. Aha! As you may have guessed, this screaming little furball is Celsia, who is forced to remain a dog or risk losing the spell fragments that the group collects. Even in her true form, Celsia is a tad irresponsible, unfortunate, and borderline psychotic individual who is stuck with the unenviable task of making sure our three heroes don't cause too much trouble. It doesn't work! Her depression and bitterness at being trapped in a flea-bitten mongrel is a large part of the character's humor, and believe me, Celsia is the one that makes you laugh the most. She also acts as Junpei's character foil, and the two are constantly at odds, bickering, fighting, and generally despising each other, even though Celsia is privately infatuated with our meathead. Basically, she's the anime version of Helga from Hey Arnold, and is just as insane as the humans she's chaperoning. The supporting cast are just your characters of the day that our heroes meet during their quest, notably the elves, who are each given a personality and are not just targets to be stripped bare. Unfortunately, most of them are just as crazy as the main cast, and merry chaos ensues as they understandably have no desire to have their clothes removed. The two most recurring characters, however, are Annette, Celsia's assistant who despises what the humans are doing to her people, yet supports their cause because it's the fastest way for them to go, and two old priests who just stand around and say funny things. The antagonists are once again the elves, who naturally defend themselves from the predations of our heroes. Some actually try and stop the humans, like the judge and the magistrate, but even they eventually end up supporting their quest, as it truly is the fastest and most expedient way to get rid of them. By that same token, one could argue that the true antagonists of this series are those who hunt elves themselves. I mean, let's face it, if this were real, then they would be in jail for about 1 million counts of sexual harassment. Just like I would be in jail for the murder of Archduke Ferdinand. So our story begins, much as any fantasy story does.
The world is changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost.
God damn it! Ah, there we go. A little village is being assaulted by evil fishmen. Boy, this is starting to seem familiar, isn't it? Because they want the elf that the villagers are protecting. But they say not to that, and throw their hopes on the three warriors of legend and their magical cannon, who are to appear and protect them in times of crisis. What they get, however, is something else entirely.
Somebody here call for a handsome mercenary? Oh, you're gonna pay for this little joyride, boy. Now when'd you do that? The Noshi paper wrap was complimentary. I'll charge extra if I have to fillet the whole friggin' lot of ya!
Who are you people? What? You might call us travelers, generally speaking. Just let us handle this.
Hey!
Close enough. Anyway, after saving the village in a very straightforward and serious manner, the grateful villagers thank their saviors profusely. But well...
If there's anything I can do, please ask.
You really mean anything?
Of course.
Just want to be clear here.
Ask me.
Take your clothes off.
What?
I said take your clothes off.
Take off.
We're looking for spell fragments imprinted on the skin, so take off your flippin' clothes!
The plot for those who hunt elves is, as I've said, the three humans and Celsia traveling the land and getting into all sorts of troubles as they attempt to separate elves from their clothing. Okay, that one was me. I simply couldn't resist. Our heroes are pitted against all manner of magic, monsters, and mayhem, as it turns out that stripping elves is a much harder task to accomplish than it sounds. And as you might surmise, the situations our merry band of dumbasses get into form the basis of much of the show's humor. The comedy inherent to this show is satirical in nature. It makes fun of many of the conventions of the fantasy genre, such as the adventurers on a mighty quest to save the world, or the mystic, aloof, and knowledgeable elves of the wood. Obviously, the quest is far from righteous, and the elves are a far cry from Elrond or Tyrande Whisperwind, but the series is still epic in its own right. Epic in its silliness, that is. Of course, we get a lot of slapstick, mostly from Junpei and Ritsuko, who never hesitate to employ violence, and the dialogue is laced with many a reference to the real world. Also, the characters have a tendency to break the fourth wall, which, in a parody such as this, is par for the course. As for the quality, I'm going to go on record right now and say that this show delivers all the way with the laughs. Much like yours truly. So what are the flaws of this series? Well, in all honesty, I'd love to tell you that there are none, but my unreasonably high standards need something to destroy, so let's go! The biggest flaw in this anime is the voice acting, and I speak not of the Japanese cast, but of the American. I never did see the anime in Japanese, but the American dub ranges from acceptable to, in Ritsuko's case, downright laughable. You can tell they didn't bring their A-game to this project. If they did, then I weep for the career of these people. The animation is also a little bit off, but I suspect that this has more to do with the poor edits that the American studio, Sentai Filmworks, performed with the lip-syncing. Lastly, and this is really me stretching to find a flaw, the anime is too damn short. When the humor is this good, 12 episodes is a paltry taste of it. Now there is a second season, but if you didn't know that, you'd be pining for more. My nitpicking aside, this anime really is great, and has many strong points to its credit. First is the premise. Note that it is similar to that of the Sorcerer Hunters in its outlandish nature, another spoof that doesn't succeed nearly as well as this one, but that's really because of who made the anime and not the source material. But in this show, it works perfectly and delivers all the way with what it promises. Next are the characters. You'll be hard-pressed to find a more likable bunch of rogues, and the way they play off each other, especially Junpei and Celsia, well, it's just hilarious! The humor, however, truly is its greatest strength. There is not a single joke I found which didn't at least get me smiling, and for a comedy show there can be no higher praise. In closing, there can be no doubt that Those Who Hunt Elves is a true deep-fried slice of comedy gold. Even if you didn't like the American cast, the jokes are just so well executed and the characters so enjoyable that you will literally have no choice but to find it hilarious. This is one of the best comedies I've seen in a long time. Perhaps not one of my top 9 favorites, but still it's up there for me. My final verdict for Those Who Hunt Elves is a decisive 9 out of 10! If you like to laugh, even a little, then definitely check this anime out. This is an absolute recommendation from me. Until next time, I am your cheerful torturer, the Anti-Viewer!